This is Dr. Ron's Words of Wisdom, words on leadership, goal setting, productivity, and a whole lot more. I trust today this will be like a vitamin or a supplement for your mind and heart. And wherever you receive podcasts from, would you please subscribe to Dr. Ron's Words of Wisdom and leave a rating and a brief written review? It will enable other wonderful people just like you to find this podcast. Today, my friends, I want to talk to us about transitions. This is being originally recorded in the year 2020, which has been as transitional a year, at least in the part of the world where I live, but I know in the entire world. For in my country, not only have we dealt with a pandemic, we're dealing with natural disasters of wildfires and hurricane force winds and tropical storms and election season and civil and racial unrest. And the pandemic by itself has affected, whether you're in a church, a not-for-profit, or a business, it has made life look a lot different. What I have discovered is I get so focused on how what's happening around me affects what I'm doing. It usually isn't until I'm having a discussion with someone from a completely different field, and I realize then that I didn't really understand how impactful all of this is, and how, whether we want them or not, we are all going through transitions. So how we go through transitions makes a big, big difference in life. Now, transitions, as you know, come in all shapes and sizes. There are some transitions that we had some say-so and we wanted them to happen. And there are some, like the aforementioned that I just went through, that none of us a few months, weeks, days before it happened had any idea. One of the things that as a leader that you're going to have to do when you're going through transition periods, and all of life is a transition period, is it usually falls upon the leader to be one of the ones who tries to keep a step ahead of all of the things that are happening. Now, it used to be that you could take that step slowly, but as things are changing much more rapidly in the world, it almost seems like you're having to jog, walk fast, and maybe sometimes even just sprint. So keeping up and keeping abreast of all that's going on is something that's been added to the portfolio for the leader. The other thing is we have to kind of keep up with what's going on. We have to have the ability to recognize when we're in transition periods. For instance, in the world that I know so well, the not-for-profit and specifically the church world, many people have transitioned in just a very short period of time from not being physically present when the worship services or meetings are happening, but are now connecting via the web, internet, online. And we have to keep up. We've had to upgrade. Many of those folks have to upgrade their equipment. Same thing has happened in the business world, where many people are transitioning from an office in a specific location to a remote, or for them, their home. None of us can say today, maybe you'll listen to this years from now and laugh at this, but we don't know where that's all going to shake out, if everyone will eventually go back to where it was before. The bad thing that could happen is, as a leader, you get so involved in doing the things that you do that we fail to recognize that transitions are happening. Now, let's just stop for a moment and kind of define that, because transitions come in all shapes, sizes, and flavors. There are transitions in our own lives as we get older, as our children, we have children, our children grow. There are transitions at work, people get promoted, and likewise people get let go. There can be transitions in that where you work may transition into another endeavor, or there are some who are listening who your company has been bought by other companies. And the thing that will happen is, if we're not paying some attention to what's happening, the temptation is there to just ignore it and believe that everything that's happening today is just a passing fad and everything will snap back to how it used to be. And if you do that, your transitional style will be you will continually be falling behind. your leadership will suffer, your ability to get things done. People will recognize in your family, in your organization, in whatever endeavor you're involved with, they recognize that something is happening. And by our failure to address it and to at least come up with some plans or some strategy, maybe will tip people off that we are not really well suited for what's happening. You are going to have to, if you're the leader, try to navigate the ship. And I kind of use that illustration in my own mind of someone who's at the helm of a ship, and we're in a storm, and it's not just a storm like usual storms that come and go and pass. It seems like we are going from one storm to another almost without any, for lack of a better term, transitional time in between it. So you're going to have to change our strategy at times when we're in these transition points. What used to work, what has worked, may not indeed do that, and we need to stay ahead. There are lots of things that we're going to discuss here in a moment on how to do this, but one of those is consulting with other people. And for some of us who have been doing what we have been doing for a few decades, it may be that we need to find people younger than us. If you're young, you may need to find people older than you as well. But we need to get the perspectives, and not just perspectives from people who look and act and think like we do. We also need to gain and gather perspective from different kinds of people. So what are the specific steps that I should do when I'm understanding I'm living in transition period? And my friends today, all of us are living in a time of transition. I think you need to, first of all, dedicate yourself to becoming the best student, not only of leadership, but whatever endeavor and vocation you are involved in. You can no longer just depend upon your college education or some seminars or some continuing education credits you got 5 years ago. You have to dedicate yourself to studying what's going on, to listening to different ideas. Get some knowledge of what do other effective leaders do when they are in a transition point. Work to acquire as much advanced knowledge and skill set that can help you navigate these transition points. The question today, my friend, is not are you going to face transitions? The question today is how are you and I going to face these transitions? Now, here's something I want you to hear. It is not a criticism, and I'm saying it to myself as much, if not more, than I'm saying it to anyone listening today. When we're in a transition point, the best thing you can do is look in a mirror. Slow down, breathe, remain calm, but your effectiveness to making it through the transition is on you. Are you going to pay the price and do the things that are necessary for you to make it through the transition? We have to get some more tools in our toolbox. Oftentimes, there's even a call for you and I to change our style of leadership. When I was a solo person in my organization, I had a certain kind of a leadership style. When I began to bring staff on and the organization became larger, I had to change my leadership style. Perhaps one of the shortest places I was, as I look back on it, was not a failure of the people there. It was a failure that I did not transition in my leadership style. I'd been used to starting things new, starting with new people and new ideas, and I went into an organization that had been in existence longer than I had been alive. And I wanted all of them to change, but I did not change my style of leadership and the way that I do things. Now, we had some modicum of success there, but as I look back on it, I cannot let the people own anything that happened there. It's on me because I did not transition my leadership style quickly enough. Another thing that's going to determine whether you and I are going to make it through the transition times that we're living in is, are we open to feedback and coaching? Oftentimes, people don't want to receive feedback. It hurts their feelings. None of us like to have pointed out to us areas for improvement, but could we just take a real quick time out and all of us declare today, there's not a person alive who doesn't have room for improvement. So we need to receive that. It will make the bond stronger between our team and our constituency. Plus, really the bonus is it helps us. And seek out advice from colleagues, from mentors. Find a coach. The coach doesn't even have to particularly be in your field of endeavor, but it's just someone who can listen and can kind of point us in some direction, but ultimately someone else is not going to do all the work for us. You can't borrow someone else's sweat. You have to put the work in. And so the important thing is, how open are you, my leadership friend, to feedback and to coaching? Let's also ask this fourth question. Do you realize that it is practice that makes perfect, and that no one, once they learn principles or ideas or have goals or perspective and are going to go after something, we all have missteps. We all do things that we need to pull back. Just don't be so hard on yourself. You or I are never going to get it exactly correct every time. That's why leadership really is an art form as well as skills to learn, and you have to keep practicing. No failure, no thing that is a setback is a total loss unless you absolutely have not learned anything from it. So make sure that you understand it's not always going to work as perfectly as it looked on the whiteboard. The brainstorming session gave you great advice and great direction, but life isn't going to be that neat and prepackaged. And finally, on this particular point, I would just say you need to commit yourself, and I need to commit myself to be an expert on what we are doing. If you're selling widgets, then you should be the widget expert in your part of the world. Whatever it is you're doing, commit yourself to excellence and to being the best. I didn't say the wealthiest, I didn't say the prettiest, and I didn't say the smartest, but you should be an expert. You should have knowledge. Now, let's talk about what are some of the skills, finally, that you really have to possess in order to navigate transitions. First of all, you have to be a self-aware person. I am totally amazed at times that there are people in leadership positions who have no self-awareness. A self-aware person understands their strengths and their weaknesses. They know where their pressure points are, and they know that they need to seek help. Are you willing to do that? Are you willing to accept the fact that there are some things in your life that probably need to change? Do you realize that you are a work in progress and that you continually need to work on yourself? I think the second thing we need out of leaders in a time of transition is some leadership maturity. You know, we shouldn't have emotional ranting and raving. We need leaders that are stable. It doesn't mean that there won't be a time when you misspeak or you speak out of emotion. But always make sure as you were implementing change in the midst of transition periods, understand deeply in your heart why we are making the changes so that you could give someone a reasonable explanation. The goal isn't that everyone will agree or appreciate your answer, but they ought to be able to understand whether you are on that they agree. Even if they don't like it, they understand what went into your thinking. So make sure a part of maturity is we continually get an attitude adjustment and we come to all of life as a leader. I've been doing what I have been doing. This year will mark 39 years. I want to tell you what I think is one of the more important aspects of leadership, and that is resilience. Everybody gets gut punches. Everyone has setbacks, disappointments, not just disappointments that come at the hand of others. Some of my most severe disappointments have come at my own hands. The fact of the matter, I may not be the best at what I do. I may not have succeeded in a lot of things, but I believe that God has given me an ability to be resilient. You get knocked down, you dust yourself off, you get up, and you keep moving ahead. You learn, you grow, you mature. But here's the thing, you just have to be resilient. If you're going to throw in the towel and give up every time there's a problem, that doesn't exude confidence. People do not have confidence in that kind of a person. I think I'd throw one more in. This is one that I've had to work on because it's not anything that I particularly come to naturally, and that is I've had to develop the ability to think strategically, in meaning that if I want to get myself or my organization to a certain place tomorrow, there are some things that I must attend to today. There are some actions, activities, and things that I must implement and do today. You have been listening to Dr. Ron's Words of Wisdom, words on leadership, goal setting, productivity, and a whole lot more. I trust today, my friend, this has been like a vitamin or supplement for your mind and heart. And wherever you receive podcasts from, would you please subscribe to Dr. Ron's Words of Wisdom, leave a rating and a brief written review. Remember, my leadership friend, you are doing better than you think you are. You really are, even in the difficult days we're living now. Until next time, this is Dr. Ron saying, have a great and blessed day.